The Captain's Log Radio, with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.
Hey, welcome to the Captain's Log Radio. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. I am so glad that you are here on the Outdoor Radio Network. And if you're listening in, if you've been following in this Captain segment, you just got done listening to On the Hook with Captain Bob. And lo and behold, our guest today is the man himself, Captain Bob, from the On the Hook radio show here on the Outdoor Radio Network. Now, if you're listening somewhere else, on Spotify, on iHeart, on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, hey, welcome to the show. We have a great guest today. And if you love that outdoor fishing or radio content, check out On the Hook with Captain Bob, who's our fantastic guest host today. Captain Bob, my good friend, how are you doing today, buddy?
Captain Jonathan Moss, I could not be any more pleased to be here. I mean, are you kidding me? I'm here with my good buddy on the Captain's Log radio show. And this is crazy because you're on the Outdoor Radio Network as well. So, well, yeah, we just got done with one episode, and now we've got another special episode coming up. I couldn't be any more pleased.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm so thankful to have you as a friend and a supporter. I feel like you're one of the largest Captain's Log fans, Jonathan Moss fans. And man, that makes me, dude, it's a humbling. I love it. It makes me feel very special. So thank you. I really, really appreciate it. What people don't know is not only are you a fishing fanatic, you're also a cigar enthusiast, and on the weekends you work at a cigar bar, cigar shop. I don't know the right word, but you guys watch the Captain's Log, have Captain's Log viewing parties every Saturday, and I think that's freaking awesome, dude. I love that.
Yeah, it's an absolutely terrific event, and thank you for bringing that up, by the way, Cap. A good friend of mine, his name is Nick Goebel, happens to be the owner of Nick's Cigar World. And he's been doing this for 25 years. And I'm glad you bring that up because he has been a supporter of my show since the very beginning. But yes, indeed. Well, Nick came to me and you know, I hate to say that it's even working at Nick's Cigar World. He just came down and asked if I could go down and help out a bit. And of course I said yes. I mean, my goodness, I love fine cigars, and you know that. But we do get together every Saturday to watch the Captain's Log TV show on Waypoint TV. We
awesome.
Never miss an episode, right? We're there all day long. Now, sometimes, and don't tell your friends over at Waypoint, but as it gets closer to football game time, you know, sometimes there's a little bit of an argument on what happens over there in the lounge, but no, we always manage to get our Captain's Log episodes in. That is for sure. Yeah. And well, I know that 1 second here. I think I've got. Oh yeah, I got it. I'm going to make a quick little adjustment here, Cap.
There you go. There you go. Repping the gear.
Yeah. You know that we can't be the number one fan without having my Captain's Log hat on. So I've got to get that on. There we go.
I love it. Looks good on you, bro.
Yeah,
looks good on you.
Of course. I try to keep it clean. Because it's perfect under the headset too.
No, perfect. No, looks great, bro. I love that blue. So tell me, where exactly is Nick's Cigar World located? And where can people go and hang out for the Captain's Log viewing party?
Yeah, heck yeah. Nick Cigar World is located in North Myrtle Beach. If you are anywhere in South Carolina, especially along the coast, I mean, you could make your way up to Myrtle Beach, but definitely in the Myrtle Beach area. But it is 2705 Highway 17 South. Come on in. He's open there 9 till 9, 7 days a week. The lounge, I believe, is open 2 until 9. But you come in on Saturday mornings for sure. And I have donuts. You know, you probably know that from the.
Yeah.
Right. We always have donuts there. So in my fine Italian espresso, of course.
Well, I love it. Well, hey, you doing a great job with plugging the Captain's Log on the radio show, and then plugging the Captain's Log there and Nick's Cigar World. So it means a lot. Appreciate it. So that being said, you said Myrtle Beach. Is that where you're at full time? Is that where you're doing your guiding full time?
Yeah, yeah,
Tell me about your guide service and kind of what's going on. We're gonna break this up probably into two segments because we got a lot to talk about when it comes to fishing.
yeah.
But tell me about where you are running your charters and what's kind of going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually run out of the Little River area here in the along the Grand Strand. We've got several spots that we can go out of. Right, we've got Myrtle's Inlet and Little River. Excuse me. They're the two biggest areas to run from. My particular vessel, I run that out of the Little River Inlet, and I particularly run a 23-foot center console. It's our reef and wreck runner. So we're going to take that about 20 miles in, and we're going to be catching our black sea bass, our cobia, some of our bottom fish like our, grouper, red snapper. We talked about that a bit. We will stay inshore a bit when we can with this particular boat to pick up some redfish around the jetties and things like that. Now, beyond that, of course, we have the we're very glad that we've got other captains that we can book out as well. Now, they go all the way from McClellanville, again, all the way up to Little River, and that takes care of the tight inshore fishery and your what we call the middle grounds. We'll say maybe 50 miles, that area out there with a 34-foot pursuit, a 30-foot Sea Pro, 25-foot Sea Pro for the inshore stuff, and a 19-foot Carolina skiff. So definitely doing a lot of fishing and trying to cover a lot of areas here along the Grand Strand.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And when you say McClellanville, are you talking about McClellanville, South Carolina?
McClellanville, South
Okay,
Carolina.
yeah. We did an episode there with Captain Stephen Fluke Jr. So, and he's actually been on the radio show. That was a fantastic area to fish. So, and you're like an hour south of that or north of that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we're going to be actually a little bit more than an hour north, just a bit of McClellanville. But yeah, you had an episode there, but there was another episode that you did here in the state that was absolutely insane. And I think you know what one I'm talking about, right? That was the one up there in the Saluda River.
Yeah, that was in Columbia, South Carolina,
Columbia,
fishing
right.
with Captain Justin McGrady for the listen to me, freshwater stripers.
Right, right.
Very, very cool fishery. You know, those fish, and I haven't had Justin on, and we'll talk more about it when he's on the show, on the radio show. But those fish moved in from the ocean because the Saluda eventually becomes the Congaree and then probably another river, but it all same body of water, just different names depending on where you are in the state. And it works its way all the way out to the Atlantic Ocean. Now, those fish moved in to that area in Columbia, South Carolina, to spawn saltwater fish, saltwater stripers, the big striped bass moved into that area to spawn. And then they had that area, they dammed up the river. And when this is, I don't quote me, this is when Teddy Roosevelt was president. So a long time ago, over 100 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. So when the fish were found and they realized, wait a minute, these aren't native fish. These are saltwater fish that have migrated in here. What are they doing here? Then they realized they spawned there. Roosevelt's like, he sent a group of scientists and was like, all right, figure it out, get these fish to spawn and then move fish to other parts of the country. And that began the revolution of having freshwater stripers. And I think that is super cool, man. That's just, it's just an awesome fishery. And those fish are living there, thriving there, spawning there, and you can catch them year round there in the Saluda in the Congaree River in Columbia, South Carolina. Very, very cool.
Well, one of the things that you and I talked about, what I love about your show, you enjoy your time fishing in the Carolinas. You really do, right? I mean, you've been here many times, and we talked about that episode and the fact that I don't think I've ever seen anybody with a camera crew on the Saluda River. I mean, how crazy was that? And you guys did it, and it was not a faint of heart day.
no, no. So, and that, that particular area, it's very different. Think about whitewater rafting.
Right.
If you ever
Yeah.
been whitewater rafting, you know there's rocks everywhere. So that's not a place where you can take your skiff. Like I'm not taking my brand new kayak that's being built. I can't take it there. I would be scared to death
Oh yeah.
to run into rock or to
Yeah.
bust up the bottom. But with the boats that Justin has built, these are aluminum John boats with a jet drive engine. Okay, like a jet ski. It's just
Yeah.
no prop, it's jet power. He would drive that boat up on a rock because water's flowing over it. He'd drive that boat up on a rock, keep it in gear, and he'd go, all right, let's fish. It was crazy. I've never done or seen anything like that before.
I
And
mean,
there
to be
wasn't,
anchored in with the jet motors anchoring you in. That's what you're
yeah.
used to be anchored up. That's insane. Yeah, that was crazy.
And that's why for him, what he's doing is so special and so unique because not many people have the boats. He built the boat. Not many people have the boat to do it. Our camera boat, he also built. And then number two, not many people have the experience on the water to be able to navigate that area without running a bottom. So he's got it dialed in. So very, very cool. We
Well,
got a minute left. We
yeah.
also did an episode with Captain Christian Cooley
Mhm.
there in the Low Country in a little further south of McLennanville in Charleston.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love the state of South Carolina. In fact, my first time fishing in that area, Sneed's Ferry. Now that Sneed's Ferry might be in the North Carolina side.
Nope, it's down in South Carolina. You got it.
Is it in South
Mhm.
Carolina? I want to say it was just north of near Wilmington.
South Charleston.
I'll have to look it up. But I was in college. I met a buddy. I was actually overseas and I met a buddy and he's like, dude, let's go fishing. And we went fishing there. It's my first time fishing up in the Carolinas on the salt. I got family in the Carolinas, did some freshwater fishing. But man, listen, this first segment is flying by. I'm so excited that you guys are here for the Captain's Log radio show. We got the great Captain Bob from On the Hook with Captain Bob radio show.
This is the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.
Hey, welcome back to the Captain's Log radio show. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. I should have brought this up on the first segment. If you were listening in last week, you heard my voice was getting a little weak. Man, the last few days, it's been almost non-existent. Thankfully today, my voice is coming back. It's still not 100%, so I appreciate you guys showing some grace to the terrible sounding voice that I have. But nonetheless, we are here with Captain Bob, and it's Cyber Monday. Guys, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday with your families, and you took advantage of the incredible sales going on with Black Friday and Cyber Monday and Small Business Saturday, and it's still Monday. Most of your sales are going to end around midnight. So my friends at Florida Fishing Products have put together some incredible bundles with reels and line and lures and leaders. There's all kinds of stuff that you can come up with great, you're going to save money. And you already know, I love these products. Florida Fishing Products makes incredible reels, incredible line, incredible leader, and their topwater plug. If you haven't tried it, if you're a topwater fanatic, it's killer. Captain Bob's biggest trout that he ever caught with me, that we won't talk about how it happened. I lost the fish. We'll talk about it in a minute. But that was on the Florida Fishing Products Flats Walker topwater plug. So check them out. Danco Pliers is running an incredible sale. You know me. You know I love my Danco pliers. And some stuff is up to 75% off. So get in there because the sale's going to end quickly. Jumps. Going fishing. You don't want to forget your chums. You don't want to lose your sunglasses into the water. They're running a deal. Norsk Lithium is running a deal. Skinny Water Culture. I love their clothing. Protect you from the sun. This one's kind of nice. I wear this out on dates with my wife. I wear it to church. I wear it fishing. I wear it to talk shows. I love their stuff. They're running a huge deal. So get on there, save some money. If you're the lady in the house and you're trying to buy, your husband's trying to figure out what to get him for Christmas, good stocking stuffers from all these companies. So check them out. And if you forget if you want to know all of my supporters, you can go to the captainslogtv.com. All of the websites are there. All the links are there. So you can get right on it and check out these Cyber Monday deals. Don't miss out. We got a few hours left. Again, with me today, Captain Bob from On the Hook Radio Show. And we were talking about fishing in the Carolinas. I've done a couple episodes there.
Sure.
And his guide service is based out of the Myrtle Beach area. Myrtle's, I say it, Myrtle's Inlet.
Myrtle's Inlet. Yeah.
You know, when you were talking about that, one fish you did not mention,
right,
was the flounder.
Oh, yes.
You do flounder fishing on your charters too, right?
Oh, yeah. We are in Flounder Alley, in fact. Now, before we go any further, I have to make a correction, okay? You are absolutely correct. I was having a decaf espresso moment. Sneed's Ferry is indeed in North Carolina. It has not moved, right?
It hasn't moved.
Not seceded to South Carolina yet. Shem Creek, on the other hand, is what I was thinking of. Indeed, still in South Carolina. So now that I've got that corrected, thank you, sir.
Absolutely. I want to say that was 18 or 20 years ago that I was there. I was up there fishing in Sneed's Ferry. That was a long time ago, bro.
Yeah. No,
and we were.
Well, I was going to say, getting back to flounder fishing. I mean, if that's what we want to speak with here, yeah, we are indeed in Flounder Alley. Now we've got a nice little fishery here in the North Myrtle Beach area, and it's called Cherry Grove, and it is really a protected inlet. There's truly one public ramp to get in, and it is a very small estuary. This thing is chock full of big flounder. Indeed, that is the area that they truly do call Flounder Alley. Now, recently, I was out with a gentleman that brought down a boat from, believe it or not, the Canadian Fishing Network. And we had that
was a long tow.
That was a long tow. And I said we had to get the walleye stink out of that boat. So we put it in over there at Cherry Grove to go catch some flounder. But no, we're blessed with that fishery as well. In fact, you're also good friends with Mr. David Flad, right? The founder of Silver. We have another good friend of mine up here, Captain Chris Osman, happens to be the leading captain month after month for the Release Over 20 program. So that goes to show you that our fishery here really does hold not only the numbers, but the numbers of big fish. Awesome. I mean, he's putting it on them on a regular basis, and that's a really good thing.
No, that's awesome. No, I love the Release Over 20. I don't want to call it program, but the conservation group, Release Over 20. Dave Flatt has got a great thing going on over there, and they do a monthly tournament, if you will, where you can win great prizes from some great companies by taking a picture and documenting the fish you catch, submitting it, and it's free. It's free to submit. And they'll even send you a sticker pack just for signing up and participating. But the idea is releasing your breeder fish, and Release Over 20 was originally focused on speckled sea trout. And something I learned from Dave, that out of 1,000 speckled sea trout, only 8 will become 20 inches.
Crazy.
That's not a ton of fish.
Oh,
so when you catch those 20-inch fish or bigger, that is a special fish. And all 8, every single one of those fish will be a female. So when you catch your 20 or greater fish, 20-inch or greater speckled sea trout, it's really important that A, we're handling them correctly, and B, we're letting them go so
Mhm.
that they have an opportunity to reproduce
Yep.
and make more babies and keep our fish stock numbers where they are, and even better for our future
Sure.
generations and for our
Yeah.
generation too. I mean, we're going to benefit from that as much as our kids are, but they're not going to benefit from it if we don't start right now. So it's
Yeah.
super, super important. So I love what Dave's got going on over there.
Well, and I think one of your sayings is you don't want it to thrive. You want it to be in abundance, right?
Right.
Something like that, right? That
I want estuaries of abundance.
sure.
Okay.
Right.
I tell people I want the good old days to be like in our future.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave my estuary for my as good as I had as a kid for my kids. I want my kids to have it better than I had it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I feel like our estuary has all of our estuaries all over the Southeast have gotten a pretty big hit. Some areas are doing incredible. You're talking about the fishing is incredible where you're at. Think about Louisiana. Fishing's stupid. I'm looking at social media posts. Fishing's just insane right
Yeah.
now in
Yeah.
Louisiana for redfish. But they're and I know I'm going to make some people mad, but I don't care. My opinion is their keep limits, their limits that they can keep fish are a little crazy, a little high. And I don't know if they're because of social media, because people are finding out about it. Maybe 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago it was different. Not as many people knew. 20 years ago, definitely not as many people
Yeah.
knew about the estuary that was going on in Louisiana. So those numbers, you could keep a lot more. You can keep 5 fish a person or whatever it is. Um, weren't really having the impact. But now that so many people know about that estuary and know about how incredible the fishing is, and
Yep.
we don't begin limiting our limits, we don't begin managing our estuaries to become estuaries of abundance, we're not going to have it.
Yeah. That's right. That's
So
right. Yeah.
I love speckled sea trout. I love redfish. I think they're delicious. But I'm not going to go out there and keep my limit just so I
Nope.
can have a meal and just to say I did it and just to put it on social media and look at me. No, that's the wrong attitude if we want to have an estuary abundance.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's our responsibility, right? We want to limit the catch, right? Not catch the limit every time. I always tell people, what are you truly going to eat? Fresh. I mean, I prefer my fish fresh. I prefer
Yeah.
not to freeze it. So I'm going to keep what I'm going to eat in the next day or so. I'm not going to, fill up the cooler and, discard, freezer burnt fish in 3 months. It's just that's not being very appropriate. So I try to pass that along too. Now, one of the things that Dave does on their website that's an absolute mind blower, Cap, and I know this is on there, but they track the amount of eggs and potential trout that have been released, right? How many eggs that they've saved, and it's in the billions, I believe. It's a
Yeah.
ridiculous number.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
so cool. And that really, when you put it in perspective, when people start looking at it and see the numbers, like, wow, it
yep,
really makes a huge, huge
yeah.
difference.
And I
So,
appreciate the fact that they've expanded it too, right? You got redfish, your trout, your flounder, now getting into the black sea bass. I'm sorry, not the black sea bass, but the striped bass. So that's a nice thing that they're doing with that as well. I've
what's
got
that?
black sea bass on the mind.
What's that fish behind you? I can't tell what it is from
That
here.
is actually my first striper that I caught. That is a young 9-year-old Captain Bob with my very first striper. And
Love that,
I
dude.
was 9 years old. That is a live skin mount from 1979. And at the time, that mount cost a total of $25. And it
Wow.
happened to be my football coach was a taxidermist. So,
Huh.
and he put on a piece of driftwood. I'll give you a little story about it. You can see it has a little curve to it. It's on driftwood because that's the way that it was frozen in my freezer. So I guess when I
Huh.
put the fish in, it froze like that. and it ended up on the piece of driftwood there. So yeah, that's my very very first striped bass. Racetown Lake, Pennsylvania.
Very
Oh,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
I have I need to go and get it. It's been done for months.
Oh,
I just
yes.
haven't had a chance to go down and get it. But my friends at New Wave Taxidermy, Captain Buddy Kirkhart and his dad, they are, I mean, they call it fish art. It is unbelievable what they do. These are replicas. These are fiberglass fish that they make. They have over 5,000 molds. We are coming up on a quick break. We get back more with Captain Bob. We'll be right back with the Captain's Log Radio Show.
This is the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.
Hey, this is Captain Jonathan Moss with the Captain's Log Radio Show. Welcome back. I about messed up on the last one. We almost ran out of time. But before we went to break, we are talking about New Wave Taxidermy. And we did an episode. I did a Captain's Log TV episode with Captain Max McKinley in Stewart. And I love that area here it's the southern portion of Central Florida, East Central Florida, on the Treasure Coast, and I caught a 40 1/4 inch snook, my biggest, and I called Captain Buddy Kirkhart over at New Wave Taxidermy. Buddy's a good friend of mine, brother from another mother, and I was like, dude, I gotta order this fish. So I put in my order, and it's been worth the wait, but it's been done since I cast, which was July, which was 5 months ago. So I just haven't had time to drive down to Stewart. It's not that far, but I've been busy. So anyways, it's done and it's beautiful. It's a replica mount. They have over 5,000 molds. And if there's a fish that you want that they don't have, which is doubtful, they can make it. And Buddy's dad, Michael, is the main painter. Buddy builds the fish out of fiberglass, and then his dad paints them. They look like they just came out of the water. It's unbelievable. So I got a snook. It's going to go somewhere on that wall behind me. I'm going to have to rearrange some stuff, but I can't wait. I can't wait to get it.
Well, their reputation precedes them. That is for sure. I'm sure you will be very pleased. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it on the wall behind you. I think I might, I don't want to say I'm a little envious, but I wish there was a big speckled trout that could have gone.
All right, so let's talk about this fish. We were in Titusville. It's we had just met. It's the first time we'd ever met.
First
fishing trip ever.
Yep.
So it was what?
I don't know.
Year and a half ago? Yep. Something like that. And it's early morning, perfect conditions, just for throwing topwater, light wind, light ripple in the water. It's still a little dark because the sun hasn't come up yet. There is some overcast. I like throwing topwater when it's a little darker. There's just enough light to be able to see what you're doing. And Captain Bob is working this topwater plug back and forth perfectly, walking the dog, and explosion. Gave it a second, set the hook, came tight. Fish is going bananas, comes to the surface, starts thrashing its head like trout do. And I was like, bro, you got a giant. Don't force it. Just let it do what it wants to do. We get the fish to the boat. I pull out the net. I net the fish. The fish is in the boat, in the net. And the hooks, and this is one thing I don't like about treble hooks and topwater plugs. One hook is in the fish, the other hook is in the net. No big deal, except the fish started thrashing. The hook in its face came out, and it jumped out of the net into the water. And I cried the rest of the day.
You sure did. You took it very hard. I've got it. I was thrilled, right? Because at that point, man, that fish was in the boat. right? And we were going to release it anyway. But Cap, you took it hard, and I know as a guide, that is the photo that you want your client to have,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I mean, and trust me, it would have been a nice photo, but you really took it hard, and I appreciate that. But I want to let you know that, man, I had a good time catching that fish. Like you said before, you know where it lives. You know where she
Yep.
lives, right? You know where she lives.
And it was a caught fish
It's caught
in the
fish
net, in
all
the
day.
boat. I
Yeah,
mean, the whole
all day.
nine. It was
Yeah,
done.
all day.
Just didn't get a picture of it.
That's all. That's exactly right. We have the picture that shall last forever. And I've always said that every time I talk about that fish, it just happens
It's
to get a couple inches
it's
bigger.
bigger. It
That's
gets
how, I
bigger.
think this time it was about 34 inches. It was enormous, the speckled trout. No, but honestly, it was an absolute great. What an Cap, you got a beautiful fishery down there, and it absolutely amazes me. I really enjoy it. I know we've been out several times now, um, catching trout, redfish, snook. We tried to chase some tarpon around. It was probably more me than you that day, but
Oh no, it's always the tarpon. It's
okay.
always the
It's a
tarpon.
tarpon. It's a
They're
tarpon.
either eating or they're not. And that's just
I
how it
guess
works.
so, right? We'll say we'll give it to the tarpon. But just the fact it's totally different than what we have up here, right? So what I like to do is I'm going to get out and I'm dropping lead straight down and knocking them in the head, right? Um, that brings me back to my old days where I started with fly fishing and bass fishing and freshwater trout fishing, where you're really getting in and it's hand-to-hand combat. You're getting in tight with the fish. But your estuary is completely different because here our intercoastal has a ripping current, right? You don't have that big current coming through. You have a little bit, but not as big of a current coming through in your estuary. And you can run for, I don't know, it seems like acres in 3 feet of water, which is just nuts. And here where we're fishing oyster beds and maybe some flooded grass and some grass flats, where you're at, we're casting up into the mangroves on a regular basis, and sometimes literally into the mangroves. Beautiful fishery you have down there.
Yeah, so I'm fishing the northern portion of the Indian River Lagoon, specifically in Titusville. And you're right, it blows people away. When you're in the channel, depending where you are, it's probably average 6, 7 feet deep. Under the bridges, it gets like 14, 15 feet deep. But once you get out of the channel, it gets shallow quick. And a lot of what I'm running is 2 to 3 feet of water. And I'll have people look over, like if I have someone sitting beside me, they'll look at my ray marine and go, Are you really running in 2 feet
That
of
was me.
water? And I'm
That was
like, yeah,
me.
man,
Yep.
that's 2 feet. Well, we're far. We're far from the shoreline. How is it that shallow? I'm like, the whole thing is shallow, man. Everywhere you go. And that's great for fishing and fishing the flats, because it feels like it's all a giant flat. It's not good for manatees because there's manatees everywhere. So in the summertime, especially, I'm not driving wide open. You got to really pay attention because those manatees don't move until
Right.
the last second. So if you're not paying attention, you're gonna hit one, and you don't want to do that. It's not good for the manatees. Not good for your boat. You have oyster bars. We have speed bumps, and our speed bumps move around.
Yeah.
So it's hard you really got to pay attention, or you're gonna run into stuff. And you mentioned fishing mangroves.
Mhm. Yeah.
We lost a lot of our grass, and thankfully it's growing back. But the fish they had a transition. They had to have a place to hide, a place to hunt, a place to look for food, a place to ambush food. So when you lose your grass, the fallen trees or mangrove bushes or palm trees are
Mhm.
good areas for them to stage. And then in the mangroves on the shoreline is a great place for them to stage. Now that we're getting grass again, we're getting potholes.
Yeah.
They're moving out of the mangroves. They're still in the mangroves, especially your snook. But I'm finding more and more fish in the potholes, in the grass. And it is amazing. Like, look at that picture. There's not a lot of water on that snook, or I'm sorry, in that redfish. There's not a lot of water in that painting. With grass in that area, those redfish can literally sink down in the grass and they disappear in a second. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you'll be poling a flat and you'll be actively looking in clear water for these fish, and you won't see them, and all of a sudden one emerges. I had a charter a couple of days ago where we were looking at a group of tails, 100 feet in front of us, and my client went to make a cast and something happened with his line, and I was like, "Bro, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up!" Like, he's like, "Whoa, whoa!" I'm like, 5 feet to your left, look down, and there was a fish that just popped out of the grass, like a mid 30s, big, solid redfish with big shoulders, a giant head, just popped out of the grass out of nowhere, and was literally if you had a net, you could have scooped him. He was so close to the boat. And they do that coming out of the grass. It's a very, very unique experience down here in East Central Florida.
And that painting you have behind you is almost exactly like the scenario that you have there. And I remember that as we were going through. And for some reason, this year when we fished this year we fished during the summer. Last year was during the spring, I believe, right?
Yeah, it was like late spring, April, May.
Okay, something like that. Yeah. A lot more grass this time and absolute potholes. And then you would just have that, you've got your grass and then your sand bottom almost identical to that painting you have right behind you. But yeah, just like you said, and you've got really good eyes, because I could not, focus in on that. But you had the elevated perch as well, which is another reason that you hire a professional guide when you go out to those types of areas.
Yeah, my wife would argue on my ability to see things, because I'll open the refrigerator and I'll be like, "Babe, where's my sriracha? I gotta find my sriracha. Where's my Crystal's hot sauce?" And she's like, "It's right in front of you." I'm like, "I don't know," and she'll come and grab it. But when we get on the water, it's different. But I have trained eyes, and it's not special to me. It's when you do something every day over and over and over, you know exactly what you're looking for. And it's about, you have to really look through the water, if that makes sense. You want to look at the bottom. And when you're fishing in 2 feet of water, it's a lot easier to focus in on the bottom. If you're looking at just the surface, you're going to miss fish. You have to look through the water. And that's where having good polarized glasses to knock down that glare makes a difference. I wear a hat all the time. Sometimes I have to tilt my hat to the side and my head to the side. And the reason I'm doing that is the sunlight can now get blocked a little bit better, so I can see better. Sometimes I'll put my hand up on my hat bill to create more shade so I can see into the water. It makes a huge difference when you're on the flats looking for fish. Hey, this is Captain Jonathan Moss. I'm having a great time with my good friend, Captain Bob from On the Hook with Captain Bob Radio Show. We will be right back very, very fast on the Captain's Log Radio Show.
This is the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.
Welcome back to Captain's Log Radio. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. We're having a great show with my good friend, fellow captain, Captain Bob from On the Hook with Captain Bob Radio Show. Special guest with us today. Like I said in the beginning of the show, we're both on the Outdoor Radio Network. So if you listen to his show, his airs before mine does on this Captain's Block segment every Monday, and then airs at different times throughout the week. But Mondays at 10, Mondays at 11. We'd love to have you continue to listen there, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube. You can find both shows all over the place. And social media. I know you got a phone. go ahead and pull out your cell phones. Get on your social media apps on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram at the Captain's Log TV. Make sure you're following, make sure you're subscribing, make sure you're commenting, liking, all that good stuff. I want to hear about you. I want to know about your fishing trips. So send me them DMs and let's talk fishing. And while you're there, make sure you're following On the Hook with Captain Bob's radio show page. What exactly is your handle? Is On the Hook with?
On the Hook with Captain Bob on all the socials, and you can
Perfect.
catch me at I'm Captain Bob on Instagram. Yeah, that's pretty original. I'm Captain Bob.
Perfect. Love it. Love it. And if you're into the TV side and you want to watch some full-length episodes of the Captain's Log, of course, you can watch on Waypoint TV. It's a free app downloadable on any device. Check it out. There's tons of great hunting and fishing content for free, as well as the official YouTube channel of the Captain's Log at the Captain's Log TV. Man, that was a mouthful. Back to fishing, back to talking about fishing. It's chilly here in Central Florida.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be getting cold up your way. Have you been able to get offshore? I know this week here was fairly calm. We had a front move in last 2 days ago. So it's been a little breezy. What is it like up there? What's your fishing forecast?
So we actually I did manage to get out last week. Of course, not, the week prior to Thanksgiving, but we managed to get out. We wanted to get out to chase some black sea bass, right? We know that they're going to be moving back in, and we're looking for those big knobby heads that we like to chase out there. So we were out there in some of our regular spots, and very pleased with some of the fish that we caught. We had some wonderful bycatch as well, and I think I shared some of those photos with you.
Yeah.
Some grouper, some red snapper. It managed to have some nice black sea bass, which I believe I even mentioned that we were able to share for our Thanksgiving meal, which we had some nice smoked black sea bass fish dip.
Is it a oily fish?
Not one bit. No, it's a nice white flaky fish, very mild, almost grouper-like. It's a very nice mild. It's a terrific mild flaky fish. Yeah.
And it smokes well, huh? I've never had black sea bass, and the ones that I've caught here, we'll catch them occasionally by the bridges near our inlets.
Okay.
But they're typically small, like 7-8 inches.
Yeah, and if you're seeing maybe the brown ones are your typical smaller ones, but as they get bigger, is when they change color. But typically going to smoke maybe a mackerel, right? I like that a little more oily fish, or king mackerel, right? Maybe even some Spanish. But this time I wanted to do something a little different. One of our local restaurants actually does a nice smoked fish dip with a mahi-mahi. So I kind of wanted to make a little twist on that. And, so when we had that opportunity, I thought, man, this would be a great time to do that. And it's absolutely terrific.
I have one problem with smoked fish dip, and then I'll tell you that, and then we'll get back to your fishing forecast. But I don't know how to stop eating it. That's my problem. Right? It's so stinking good, man. In fact, when I go offshore, that's one of my favorite things to bring with us. I'll typically have smoked fish dip sandwich running out the inlet for breakfast. I know I'm weird. I'm crazy. That's why I have gray in my beard, because I eat smoked fish dip for breakfast. But I love me some good smoked fish dip. So anyways, tell me more about these black sea bass. You said something the other night. We were talking. You're catching these fish offshore, these black sea bass, on artificial.
100%. I really,
that's awesome.
I enjoyed that. Now, I'm sure you've been out there catching black sea bass. I'm not sure what your fishery offshore where you're at, but we can typically find a pile of them if we're using something like your cut bait as far as shrimp goes, squid, any of that cut bait. You will put 60 to 80 in the boat. But the problem is they're all going to be short, right? We're looking for our limit here is it's a 13-inch limit. On honestly, to keep a black sea bass, you're going to want something 16 inches or bigger to get a fillet, right? Otherwise, it's not really worth it. Let's send that fish back because the other ones are in there. So we'll just work for the bigger ones. So to kind of call out those smaller fish, I've developed a program that I should say I developed it, but there's a program that you can apply that it's a big. I'm using a 2 or 3 ounce, pretty much a Spro bucktail jig, and I'm going to lace that with a 4 or 5 inch. This happens to be a jelly bait curly tail grub on the back of it. That's going to be on the bottom. And then above that, about 18 to 24 inches, I've got another bucktail teaser, no weight, but with another trailer on it. And those are the two that we're using. Typically, that's how we're going to locate the areas of the black sea bass. Usually, I'll say 9 times out of 10, the biggest of the black sea bass will come only when we have the single hook on the bottom and not that the secondary teaser up top. So once we catch them and we're finding them with the teaser and the jig on the bottom, we'll go ahead and drop down with just the jig and try to call out the bigger ones. Now, that is when something crazy happened that I think I mentioned to you, right?
Yeah. You had a very interesting duo. Go ahead and share that with us.
Very interesting duo. So we're over there. We're having a wonderful time catching a lot of black sea bass. We're probably 20, 30 in your larger ones, right? Because, again, we're calling out the smaller fish. And gentleman on the boat says, Cap, I've got something a little different. He brings it in and it's coming up. Oh my gosh, it's a gag grouper, right? So first thing for me, this was a new species in this particular area, this particular part of this live edge that we're fishing. We typically don't find grouper there. For me, if I'm going to chase grouper, I'm going to move off about 3 more miles to catch them. So for me, this was unique. So let's go back down and see if we've got some more. Yes, indeed, we've got some more. We're pulling up another grouper, all on the artificial lures. We drop back down again, and this is where the unique thing happened. First time ever that I've ever seen this. We've got video, we've got photos of it. I'm sure it's happened before. I haven't seen it. I don't know if you've seen it, but on the bottom hook, we catch a gag grouper. And on the top hook, which was the teaser with another curly tail jig or curly tail grub, a red snapper.
Wow, that's cool.
Gag grouper
that's
on the
awesome.
bottom, snapper on the top. I've never seen that happen. I've never had that combo before. That was pretty crazy.
I bet your client had a blast reeling that in, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was
both of those fish are strong. Even smaller ones are strong, and you're down, offshore. You're fishing on the bottom, so you got to bring in some line. That's awesome. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so he definitely had a good time with that. We moved off of that spot, went back to chase some more black sea bass, and before the end of the day, we went back over. And again, the program of the day was artificial lures, but I just had to get back over there and put some cut bait down, right? So 5 ounce, egg sinker on a knocker rig, put a big squid on. That thing wasn't down for about 30 seconds. And I think I might have shared that photo of the nice red snapper that we caught there. Brought that fish in. We decided to tap out for the day, not hammer that fishery anymore. And, of course, send the fish back. Definitely marked that spot. I renamed the spot on the Ray Marine, but now we've got it, Cap. Now we've got it.
No, I love that. One thing I appreciate about you is you are great at teaching. And if I'm not mistaken, you started this year working with the South Carolina DNR and teaching classes about fishing. I love that passion that you have for educating new and seasoned anglers. Tell me more about that. When and where and how do people go to learn about fishing from you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in fact, I happen to be one of the certified saltwater fishing instructors for the South Carolina Department of Natural Resource.
That's awesome.
Very, very blessed to be in this program. I believe I'm coming up on actually my third year with the DNR. And I am very honored to host the Saltwater 101 seminars that we do at the Bass Pro Shops in Myrtle Beach. So once a month, and they will start again in January here, we will have a 101 seminar, and it's free for anybody to sign up. You can go to the DNR's website. They have event registration at Eventbrite as well. Some seats are limited. We do use, of course, Bass Pro Shops. So I think we can get in about 30 or 35 per seminar. And these are actual hands-on clinics where we come out and we'll teach you everything from actually how to string a rod and reel if you've never done that before, all the way to tying the drop rigs and what type of bait to use. We will even take you through the Bass Pro Shops because sometimes that's intimidating when you walk into a Bass Pro Shops and you're trying to find an item and even what do I need to buy, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know what I need to buy when I'm going out flounder fishing. So we will take them through up and down the aisles and we'll say, hey, this is the type of item you need if you're fishing for flounder or redfish or if you're going offshore, so on and so forth. But that is what the seminars at the Bass Pro Shops are. But we do other things with veterans and the youth as well. Absolutely.
I love that, man. That's fantastic. YouTube is such a great resource, but when you can get hands-on, one-on-one training, be able to ask your questions, I absolutely love that and encourage people. Listen, it's been an absolute blast having on the show Captain Bob from On the Hook, the Captain Bob Radio Show. This is Captain Jonathan Moss, host of the Captain's Log Radio Show. We're so glad that you're here, and we're so excited to continue to grow the show with you. So stick around. We got more episodes coming soon. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.